Get your components and ask by the attention that you so generously volunteer. Thank you. Last but not least, and I promise you will not fall asleep or sleep.
Hi everyone and welcome to our presentation and thank you for coming today. We are the Pacific Design and Construction Group. There are two things that interest us as a team. One is the connection between people, between us, and two is the connection between spaces. So we want to start by introducing everyone. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce you, a CM here at Stanford.
I would like to introduce Adam, MEP, and from Benton.
I'd like to introduce you to Michał, one of our architects from Poland.
But not only actually from Poland, because there's another one, Alice.
And I would like to introduce another structural engineer. I would like to introduce our enthusiastic PM.
So, I would like to introduce you to Kate, a social engineer from Spain.
So our client is San Francisco State University, and like many public universities, they are kind of constrained by certain limitations in budgets. So that's one of the things we had to take into consideration for this project. Our owners, Elias, Carolina, Nick, and Mickey, both supported us throughout this project, and we can't thank them enough for that. So with this, we decided that we had to start this project out by identifying some goals. So based on the challenge that Renata provided us at the very beginning, it was not just about integration for us, but it was about going back and trying to take on every single challenge that was presented to every team in the past when it comes to sustainability. And then also working with our owners, identifying what it was for them that was important. That is cost, the user, and how it functions. So throughout the project, we will also have this on the side, and as we go through each challenge, it'll be marked off.
In addition, at the very, very beginning of our project, our team outlined a series of project values. We took a survey of the team, compiled 30-something values, and slowly narrowed them down to our top three, which are sustainability, a zero-accident construction site, and adaptiveness and flexibility. Because we did this at the very beginning of our project, this is what shaped the entire rest of our project from start to finish. We guided decisions, drove decision-making, and finally ended in our final product. You'll be able to see this over on the right-hand side to keep track of what was important to us throughout the project. But we didn't start from here. We didn't start from what we're going to talk about today. We started from 4 months of design, development, collaboration, and coordination as a team. We went through several different design alternatives, 2 of them which are highlighted above here. And at the winter quarter presentation, we took the best from 2, and we put them together, and that's what we will talk about today. This decision was made based on the decision criteria outlined here, and we will move forward with our connections idea, which is what drove our design during spring quarter. In addition, we would like to address up front the transparency challenge outlaid by DPR. The transparency challenge was very important because we started to learn how to communicate together as a team. And from the beginning, we outlined 3 different levels of communication. Level 1 being a task completed announcement via the Asana platform. Level 2 being information, location, and questions answered via a 2D platform, Slack. And then level 3, a fully immersive collaborative meeting online via Zoom. Here at this point, we would like to define transparency as the clear and concise exchange of information. It is awareness, responsiveness, and mutual respect rooted in trust and honesty.
Basically, we want to open the box to have the perfect person to see what's happening. They're giving us the feedback in the perfect moment.
But we didn't start from here. We had to start from different places all across the world. We had to start from China, from Costa Rica, from Madison, Wisconsin, from Colorado, from Poland, from India, from London. We had to start from all of these different places. And we had to build a culture of trust, respect, and honesty within our team. And we did this through the use of emojis. Early on in the project, we set a message on Slack asking everyone to respond with their favorite emoji. And this became very interesting because we tracked response time, different personality characteristics, etc. throughout the team. And this is what started to create a common language within our team. From the very beginning, we started to collaborate because we all knew exactly what we were talking about. We realized very quickly that regardless of the place that we came from, something as simple as a thumbs up emoji communicated, got it, moving forward along in the project. So from here, we started to outline how we track transparency. And we thought that this emoji idea was simple, clear, concise, and started to track our progress throughout the project, both positive, negative, and neutral. So we started to track over time how these different emojis incorporated into our Slack platform got increased or decreased as our communication furthered. And we also communicated this through an app that we created. One that tracks positivity, 2 that tracks response time, and 3 that tracks a trust meter. Asking people a question when they log into Slack immediately, do you feel that you have what you need from your team? Yes or no, thumbs up, thumbs down. And 2, if you don't, do you feel that they will deliver it to you in a timely manner? This is something that became integral in our team transparency as we felt we could get the information required in a clear and concise manner from the rest of our team. But this wasn't where we stopped with transparency. A huge part of our team process was virtual reality. And this becomes really important throughout the entire rest of our presentation, as both myself and Joanne have been working closely with Renata on the development of virtual reality in this class, and through also exterior BIM modeling techniques. So this is something that we've been working on for the last 6 weeks. It has been integrated in our design, our development as a team, and it has communicated a lot of the design decisions that we've made thus far in the project. Early on, when we started to make decisions, me, myself, or Joanne would go into one of our virtual reality platforms, get on a Zoom meeting with the rest of our team, show them around the building, show where things were laid out. And this is really important because we want to also invite you to experience our building firsthand after the project over in that room. In addition, we highlight this because on the 2 far screens over on the right and the left-hand side, throughout the project, we're going to start by showing you little snippets of places in our buildings. Instead of designing this as an integrated team process, we want to show you various key features throughout the building, and then show you how they introduce team communication. So we start here with our site context.
What you can see is our beautiful location in San Francisco Bay Area. What became more important in the design is coloration to the lake, which in many parts of the building is a beautiful view from inside. What is also important, the location is a challenge in matter of its water. Our site is located in one of the most seismical locations in the United States, with a lot of historical earthquakes and a lot of damage in places like our site.
Something else that's very important to us is looking at how this building is going to operate, not just when we build it today, but how it's going to operate in the 50-year life cycle of this building. So that's when we took a step back and looked at how the weather might change or be impacted if we don't make a change in how we're designing buildings today. So that goes into focusing on what our design is. So we had strategies and what we were going to do. Where's our comfort zone? How can we incorporate natural ventilation? How can we use our internal heat gains? But that's only one element of the piece. If we start to look at how the changes in weather happen over time, we start to see, does our strategy still meet this? If we are designing our strategy for something today, 50 years from now, is it going to still be that way? Or are we going to have to rip out the entire system and change what we're doing?
Having a closer look to our particular plot, we are surrounded by variety of different spaces as educational one, campus of the university, school, and shopping mall. Another characteristic feature is slope provided on our plot. Therefore, we could play with that to go around limitation which are 30 feet high, or locating the base of our building on the top of the slope.
The diagrams you can see right now are the very first steps of our team trying to understand how the users of this location go around it. From the very beginning, we went to the site, saw how it looks, and tried to understand how people move around it. This diagram on the left shows you how all the people that may come there move around it, and the diagram on the right shows how the basic three types of users, students, teachers, and visitors, may walk around this location depending on the hour.
So here we take you to the external facade of the building.
One thing that was really important is, like we had said at the beginning, like we had our goals, our client had their goals, but at the same time, we didn't really understand the user. Like, we could not just assume that we understood what a faculty member wanted, what a student wanted, what members of the community wanted. So when we left Stanford and went back home, we took the time to develop this visual preference survey. And this survey that was sent out to people all across the world was focused not on just do you like A or do you like B? It's what about this do you like? So we were able to track specific areas to better understand what is it about this image that people are attracted to. And then to take that element and track it against something else to compare and see is it consistent or is it just something specific in this image. With that, you're then able to determine how people function and use spaces, where teachers spend their time, where students spend their time, where other people in the building spend their time, and then start the design process from there instead of trying to correct it at a later point.
Information taken from visual preference survey inform us that students and teachers doesn't really spend like the biggest amount of their time in their student separated offices, but they spend a lot of time in common spaces. We could refer this information to our program given from the owners. And it turned out that these kind of spaces, therefore we could reduce amount of square footage because of taking these people providing to these people more of these common spaces. We provided the reduction of 50% from the maximum given footprint, and therefore our structural engineers were able to provide us very, very simple structure which could be very adaptive and flexible in the future and during our design process.
So one of the things that was key is that each of us had our own kind of strategy based on our discipline and what we're taught. But to be able to work with one another and really design something that worked, we had to kind of reach across the aisle. So when I was performing daylight analysis, I was working directly with the architects to help them decide how that would shape the building. Do we need to take the element and split it, or can it stay together?
So as you can see, it was our huge decision that we made of dividing the building into two parts. And moving forward, you can see that to adjust our building into the given footprint, we had to figure out a way to colorate into the double decker shape. So with this decision, we decided that we need to use slanted beams solution to provide our building seated in the footprint.
So similarly with this, going back to the climate, wind is a very important aspect of the site. Being located right near the ocean, we have a consistent wind coming from the west. And we wanted to understand if natural ventilation is one of our strategies, is the wind still going to be something that we can use in the future? So based on that information, I can do an analysis and we come back to our architects and talk about how orientation of the building would best suit my systems and how it can help benefit them.
Yes, we took this information and we were trying and exploring which position of the building would work and would be taking the most the wind towards network ventilation. That's the effect of the it's like this. That's the effect of our final decision, which should properly work with network ventilation on this side.
So as mentioned before, after winter presentation, we had two propositions. And one of them was bringing external facade as shifted boxes. Although with the issues we found out, we decided to keep this idea, although to get rid of a stack effect that may be a possible disadvantage of this idea. So we brought our shifted boxes aesthetics into the internal space of the building.
So here we would like to give you a visual of what the exterior facade of the building will look like. So this brings you up to the exterior of our building, which becomes an integral part of the structural design. Because of our high seismicity and our location and proximity to faults, we have designed for a very high seismic value.
Basically, you can see here how our facade is integrated with the architecture, but also has the natural principle of hard outside, soft inside, with the elements that you see here and here.
Yes, here the architects would like to say how they appreciate work of structural engineers who, as was said in one of the given governmental presentation, our structural engineers provided us the solution we were thinking about. And when they drew first time this diagonal bracing, we decided yes, it has to be part of our external facade. Therefore, we decided to use glazing as a visual sign of the internal atrium, and as well provide like external look of the facade. We have to remember that this building is a structural engineering faculty. Every structural engineering faculty student should learn from surrounding, and in this condition should learn as well from the building which is designed for this function.
So we accomplish this by using an external facade system that is entirely buckling restraint brace frames, as shown here on every single facade of the building. This is where VR came in really handy for us, because our initial design of the building had a column directly down the middle atrium. We went into VR, took the architects all the way in Poland on a VR walkthrough of the building, showed them this, and they said, that column has to go. We got to figure out a way to get rid of that. At which point we marked it up, highlighted it, flagged it in VR, came over here a couple weeks later to our final design, got rid of the column, and integrated this completely into the architectural facade to provide the main entrance to the building right here. Here we would like to show the load path of the lateral system and the connection detailing in which the buckling restraint brace links come into the timber system.
These braces were designed based on this ETAPS model that basically is describing a very nice movement of the two principal nodes. So we could understand how our facades are basically working as we were expecting with this very symmetrical configuration where the facade is basically taking all the lateral.
As the facade and the structural braces works integrated, and as both structural and architectural feature, we see as come in and try to figure out how can we prefabricate some of the steel members and timber members so that we can quickly assemble it on site. So this slide shows the plan of how the gusset plates will be pre-welded to the steel structure. And also the timber beams will be, the slot will be pre-drilled before shipping to the site so that the whole structure can be assembled quickly on site.
At this point, we would like to take you inside the building.
So we talked about temperature, we talked about wind, but one of the most important things in California right now is water. We don't know if it's going to improve, and to sit here and we can collect water off the roof, we could try to harvest water from the fog, but one of the most important things that we're overlooking is water as a resource, and we're taking that resource and flushing it down the drain. So we have a gray water system, but we wanted to introduce the black water system. So this black water system, when we think about the cost over time, is that 10% increase in utility costs consistently year after year after year. So your payback begins the second you stop having to pay for that water. So we went to the ocean and said, how can nature solve this problem? How does nature actually solve this problem for us. So based on a tidal system and wetland ecology, we came up with a living machine. So this living machine, as you can see on the right diagram, there's multiple cells in the system. So one cell fills with water, while the other cell goes through the microbial process of breaking down the nutrients that are left over. After the process is done, water will be released and through gravity will flow to an equalization point, at which point the pump will kick in and then divert water to the next cell, and the process continues on the left. So like the ocean, this continues on a cycle roughly about 12 times per day. When we look at this in the system, we start to understand how much water are we using in our building and what is the payback cost on this. And very early we said, based on FTE numbers for full-time employees, we are only probably averaging about 1,000 gallons per day. And if we can increase that value, it would be really great. So what we decided is, on our site, the lateral system that's running from campus sewer, connecting to the sewer main that's running down the street to the wastewater treatment plant, runs right along our site. So what we're going to do is we're going to sewer mine off that site, pull the waste that's coming from other areas of the campus, bring it into our system, treat it, and then send it back out to the cogeneration plant that's powering us, and to water the landscape and the athletic fields that are right next to us.
So with that, we create our living machine located in the central atrium of the building.
During the presentation, we were thinking, we developed two different designs. One of them was complemented because it has very nice facade which was consisted by shifted out and in boxes. Another one had very nice, open and broad, inviting atrium. We didn't decide to throw out and cancel one of it. We decided to connect them and combine together with the idea already explained by MEP, living machine. And we found the perfect place for that in the middle of our auditorium. That here we can see like our sketch, which we did right after the presentation, and on the right side, the current level of development of the design final.
Right off our atrium is located our auditorium, which you'll see in just a second. Our auditorium is a central focus point of the building.
So what was very important for us was how occupied our building would feel inside. And starting from that, we are trying to arrange our floor plans in a way to provide needed conditions for each user. And that's why each level is dedicated for a different level of privacy. For example, teachers located in the highest level of the building can experience lower noise level. And this graph can explain you how we were thinking about connections in between those. So teachers, students, visitors can not only meet each other, but also spend time separately and in the perfect conditions they need.
Coming back to our big idea, which is connections, we decided to connect all of these different and separated in a way group of users of the building. We wanted to integrate teachers with students, provoke spontaneous meetings of teachers between teachers and students between students. Therefore, we decided to use three types of connections, which we decided to locate in the middle of the auditorium. One of them is elevator, which could provide view for the user, which is going up, and could as well equally take a feeling of the internal and open space. Another are bridges. They are connecting two types of same type of the group on the same level. And another are stairs.
So as explained, we provided various possible ways we can meet together and use internal space. And just going quickly through our floor plan. The main drivers for the ground floor, what you can see is that with every level going up in the ground floor, we started with the most occupied facilities. So the biggest facilities and our internal space that is occupied by cafe and stairs that provide visual view to the whole atrium.
Our ground level, together with first level, are in a very similar function because they are dedicated for students to take classes. We decided to combine these two levels with growth stairs, which are as well served for integration for students to see. On the second level, you can see the auditorium, which is combined with the lower level below.
So moving to the second level, please imagine being a student in our school. So you go onto the second level, mostly dedicated for you. Sometimes it's about teamwork. Sometimes it's about individual doing homework in silent, private spaces. And this is exactly what we try to dedicate in those internal between spaces, between the title classes, which provide a visual view with the aid. And what's more important, in between those challenges today, you can take a refreshing walk to our field completions, look down in the green atrium, refocus yourself, refresh yourself, get a deep breath, and go back to work to the place that's suitable for you.
The highest level, which you can clearly see on the section, is filled with the biggest amount of individual rooms are dedicated for teachers and heads of the department. But as you can see on this floor plan, the most workplace, which is directed towards west, and it has the most beautiful view on the Lake Mercy, we decided to dedicate for faculty lunch for students and teachers to spend their time and for example, like consultations and another meetings.
So when we did this system, when we're working alongside our architects, we're understanding using the computer models how the sun paths are going to affect our building, how it's going to affect the light inside. And we stood back and said, we're missing something here. We talked about these users, we talked about their experiences, and we're not really understanding that experience on the inside of the building. So what we did is we went into VR, and we looked at the building from the perspective of that person in the building. And not just the perspective that we're used to of standing in a room and looking out, is sitting at that desk and understanding what is it like to have glare at your eye level, and if you're sitting down and having a conversation with your professor. So then at that same time, after we have established all of this information and our design strategies are based on this natural ventilation, we worked with architects to develop the exterior facade to reduce the total impact that we would have on their vision of what it was that they were doing. We went with these louver systems at the top and the outer edges on the windward side of the building. What's important about this is, like we said, that natural ventilation and wind patterns might change in the future, so we have to be able to have the ability to control and adjust this. So coming on the windward side of the building, the low aspect ratio of the building doesn't allow us to be completely 100% natural ventilation, so we're using a hybrid system. As we move up throughout the atrium, we have these fans also at the top. They're going to help draw air out and through. One important key feature on these exterior facades here is that there is some new technology coming out with these ERP systems on the exterior side of the building. What we're trying to do is to reduce the total impact on the mechanical system, is pre-treat the air as it's coming in. So we can still use that natural ventilation coming in and condition it before that moisture or anything else is going to impact anything on the interior of the building. At the very top of the building, based on a greenhouse, we're gonna exhaust all of our air out to the top of the system.
And this is where we would like to highlight why we chose the structural system. In combination with the living machine, with the facade, with the interior box structures, here is how we got here.
Basically, we are taking pros and cons of the materials and taking them with their project values. We're having recycled steel, we're having low steel requirements to take sustainability into account. We're having smaller elements that are basically great for architecture and great process for MEP, and basically cheaper for the CMs. And we're thinking about the security at the end because we really think that has to be taken into account.
So this hybrid timber and steel system leads us to an integrated system where the facade is exterior timber beams. The interior beams are steel beams to carry the loads across the atrium. And then throughout the classrooms on both halves of the building, we have steel trusses to carry the loads and accommodate MEP system through the room.
To make an adaptable space for a function, we are having only 4 internal college programs this year. That is basically with for the construction, for the function, and for the MEP, and all the systems between. We'll also have this basically symmetric simple system in the foundation that you can see only 4 isolated footings joined between foundation beams with a linear foundation in the perimeter just to basically take them all together.
So we all now understand that the atrium is the key of our building. It's the key of connection. And this big architectural stair is also the key of the atrium. So as a CM, we understand that this big stair is architecturally functioning for the occupants. But now we also want to explore the chances of prefabrication. However, these stairs, as you can see, the total size is 15 feet by 24 feet. It's pretty huge. So the way we tackle is we separate the big stair into 3 sections. Each of them can be separately transported on site and erected in sequence. This is another example of how we tackle the prefabrication in our building. Since the walls for the staircase is not structural with walls, we can use the drywall and with proper fire protection, and that enables us to use prefabricated stairs for the fireplaces. That enables us to fastly construct the stairs, and also the stairs will go up with the structure to provide working stairs for safety and fluid flow to workers. Throughout the entire design process of the team, every discipline seeks to work collaboratively to solve challenges. Right here is an example of how architecture, CM, and MDT work collaboratively to solve this atrium challenges. We know that atrium is the key, and sky roof in the atrium is the key of the key. So the three disciplines come together, pull the information together. CMs come up with the cost analysis for having different panel sizes for the sky roof, the cost and duration differences. The architects come up with the 3 different pictures showing the difference. And also, when Adam MEP sees this picture in the middle, he immediately said that we're gonna do this one because this allows natural ventilation to be more integrated in the process. So this is our final solution. This is a picture. This is a slide showing how PVD impacts our design. So originally, for the exterior facade, architects designed these huge windows coming from the floor to ceiling. The height is 11 feet. And we CMs come together, quickly pull up the cost estimation for having windows of 11 feet high versus 8 feet high, and come up with the conclusion that we can save $110,000 by cutting the size, window size. Sorry. So finally, we come up with this solution.
So at this point, remember the atrium over on the side. This is what we would like to talk about next. And I'll play it again, just so that you can see again. And this is where we're located now on the first floor, another architectural feature of our building.
So what you can see right now are sections for our building. And what we would like you to pay attention for is how these spaces are various among each other. Starting from the ground level, the biggest facilities, going up, and the reduced noise level in between faculty offices, as well providing good overview into the internal atrium, all the landscape that surrounds it.
Pay attention to the atrium because perfectly located because it was using our solution of the problem of going from double diamond footprint into square form, and providing us with stairs on the floors and the city was providing stairs for the floors above. We really wanted to provide as good acoustic as possible in this finally solved space, and we used parametric tools and Grasshopper for design of acoustic panels. So even like the audience at the back would be able to perfectly see what is happening on the ground.
Build on and shape with our internal atrium. We obviously had to have two big massive cantilevers that are basically balanced in a completely symmetric way with the lateral system that we have shown before, completely symmetrical on the sides.
And the auditorium is located directly over one of these cantilevers, at which point we had to figure out how to support these large cantilevers, especially with the large atrium loads. The atrium being right down cantilevered up required the balancing of the cantilever system. So we employed a tension cable system that picks up the cantilevers from both sides and drives them back into the center core of our building. Here you can see the detail of the rod connection to pick up the gravity, as well as the connection with the external facade of the building.
Once we figured out that there was going to be two cantilevers, we started the CM to figure out how we're going to construct it. So we first proposed two temporary columns to hold the cantilever, and then we would build the slab and put use the temporary support to hold the cantilever. Then once the steel cables were installed, the cantilever, the temporary coating would be removed, and the columns would be removed, and then the cantilever is set.
So at this point, things are really starting to come together. We're really starting developing the system, and we're able to kind of look back and say, okay, now that we've really focused on this exterior facade and reducing the total size of the system, we can start implementing some of this technology. So on these floor plans, you can kind of see basically what we're attempting to do is to have two vertical shafts in the building. Originally, we were going with one and bringing it through the atrium. However, with that cross connection, we were really reducing the visual and the floor to ceiling height. So we introduced two shafts. This allows us to effectively distribute the air in different areas, and then use the atrium as a return system back up. So that way, we're not only using natural ventilation, but in the situations where we need to use mechanical ventilation, we can use that system to most effectively reduce our total energy. So on the exterior perimeter area, and in some of these offices, we're using active chill beams. In the atrium, we're going to use our exhaust system here to continue back to our dedicated outdoor air system. And then in the auditorium, we're also going to use a BRV system that allows us to immediately pick up demand due to a high influx of people that active chill beams normally cannot do.
At this point, we would like to take you upwards in our building and rise up the atrium to the bridges.
So what you can see right now are various possible crossroads. We go our tour inside your atrium, and we want to provide as many possible connections as it is possible. What you can see in the internal picture is our background space we can experience from entering the building, which is integrating both sides of our landscape. And then here we get down to the 0 level and we can enter the other side of the building.
The structural design also needs to make connections between the two seismic classes, and we're doing it using the same language of the facade on the fifth facade, our building. Using this diagram, we will join the two masses together as a whole building. But what happens with that is that we are making a weak link on the chain.
So to solve this weak link, We ran this through an ATAS analysis, which I'll show you in a second, and determined that we needed to disjoin the rest of the floors and tie the system together laterally at the roof and leave the floors disjoined. So here you can see the ATAS analysis running through this AEC 710 and determining the maximum displacement, which is a pretty stiff structure of only about 0.6 inches. So what we needed to do, 0.3 inches, sorry. So what we needed to do is detach the bridges at the middle to provide a seismic gap to allow for the movement of the bridges in case of an earthquake.
So since we have a lot of edges on the site, we decided to have some specific protocols in terms of forces for the safety of the workers. So we proposed temporary railing systems and tie-off points for the safety harnesses. As you can see from some of the data from the Bureau of National Labor Statistics, the falls and trips is one of the highest fatality causes for fatalities. We also have a site that exists on a seismic zone, so we propose some of the protocols as to what to do before, during, or after an earthquake. These are some of the software solutions which we think should help us and the site management to take care of the health and safety concerns for the construction process.
So at this point, we're taking you into a classroom. Over here on the left, you can see the interior view of the classroom, and over here on the right, you can see the screen. So imagine sitting in this classroom. Let's take a step back for a second. We've showed you the atrium, we've showed you the auditorium, but what is it like to actually be a student in this building? Picture yourself sitting in this classroom, picture yourself looking up at the screen, and start to get an image of what it's like to be in this classroom. This is another example of how we use virtual reality to be transparent with our owners. We took them on a walk through the building, and they very quickly pointed out that the timber beams on the roof of this classroom were too low, provided obtrusiveness and constricted ceiling heights. So we went through a Zoom meeting, collaborated together, and came up with our final system, which instead of the timber beams employs a steel truss system across that accommodates the use of MEP in the system as opposed to below it or through it. So imagine yourself sitting in this classroom, looking at this screen, 5 years down the line, and listening to a presentation very similar to this one about how this building was built. Imagine listening to Ishan up here in this classroom talking about the construction of the building.
So for the first thing, to figure out our training selection, we have to figure out which is our heaviest pick. From the structural system, the slab for the CLT floor slab was the heaviest pick, and thus we decided to use a labor 50-ton crane with capacity. We use the section and use the dimensions to figure out if we can use properly, use this crane to reach at every place and place our floor slabs properly. For the other equipment selection, we also figured out we started with the net usage of electricity. We were very interested in how electricity is going to be used in vehicles, and so we started using to analyze some of the data. And we figured out that we should use as much of electric vehicles as possible. So we proposed using e-trucks which are already in use and the ground forklifts, electric equipment on site, and some of the other equipment for our construction process of our building. The site layout here shows, this slide shows the site layout for substructure phase. So when you're going to be concrete, and thus we have provided roads for a concrete truck easily transport around the perimeter of the building and place concrete. There's also going to be evacuation paths and an evacuation zone in case there's an earthquake or fire hazard or anything of that sort. They have primary crane locations. They have primary crane locations for the superstructure phase where the crane can be placed as it is a mobile crane. This path has been made so that the truck can easily come in from the main road, go into our site where the material can be picked up by the crane, placed directly on the structure to have a just-in-time delivery. And we also have primary and a secondary crane position if we want to use it. These are some of the details. We plan to use interactive boardings for the site perimeter to have holes for the people to look into the site and look how construction works. Some bio offices, and that slide shows you the crane radius. For the logistics, our supply chain, we wanted to reduce the amount of fuel consumed by the transportation of materials to and from the site. And we decided to have, as the Bay Area, all of our main suppliers are located within 10 miles of our site. We narrowed it down very easily just by using the radius. And
Yeah, we also understand that to tackle the sustainability challenge, it is also important to tackle that, to make sure that we keep all the dirt and all the salts on site and not contaminate the surroundings. So this is our design and plan for the erosion sediment control. The strategies we used was to provide the silt bed and perimeter to keep the silt in. We had 3 tire wash areas for keeping the dirt when the truck leaves, and also 3 inlet protections at the surrounding.
that's the 5D model, which is similar to the site layout. We have temporary columns coming in here to support the cantilever, and the flow of the trucks can be seen. Once the building can sustain the cantilever, the temporary columns will be removed. The total time is about 34 weeks for our building.
As located in the one of the most labor union heavy locations in the United States, we also understood that understanding how the labor union impacts our construction is important. So after talking to the San Francisco Building Trades Council, we came to the conclusion that having the stable, highly trained labor resources is basically a win-win situation for both employers and employees. We will be able to achieve very high productivity and also high safety in the job site. However, we do anticipate that we are 25% higher labor wages than the national average.
This slide talks about the PVD of our building. As you can see, the shared services are highest percentages. We also like to focus on the special construction, which will be part of the living machine costs. This shows our budget and the actual estimated cost. And as you can see, we're saving about 1.8 million with the reduced footprint, which is approved by our owners and which fits the program we require. Just to take you through a short evolution, this was our first concept, and we have evolved from being totally over budget to be now around $2 million under budget.
So $2 million under budget, our owner is happy. I don't know an owner in the world that's not happy to be $2 million under budget. But going beyond that, we really work closely on this, mixing the target value design and the sustainable target design to make sure that we're also within our goals that we set out to meet each and every one of these sustainability challenges. After everything is said and done, this comes the fun part. When you put something into an energy analysis summary, and your goal is hopefully you're meeting ASHRAE 90.1. Like, that's the bare minimum that you're shooting for. But what you're really shooting for is the 2030 target, which is 20 kilobTUs per hour or per square foot per year. We came in at 3.8. This building not only has the opportunity to save us energy, but is what gets us to our LEED certification. Our LEED certification is gold, and the reason it is gold is because we felt that there were certain elements that would put us at a private level that were not necessarily important or meet the needs of the community. We could easily have added showers into this building to integrate with our bicycle racks or something else on site, but again, we're in a water usage issue. And on campus, the number of people that would be using the water in the building for showers was not important to what the people who responded to us in our surveys. So that's why we're only at a goal. So kind of going from there and really thinking about this whole system, you gotta really think about the future. Again, we're setting out to be a 50-year building. And this is the place that our children, future generations are gonna be, and they're gonna experience. It's not just about the perception that we have today, but the perception of the future. So we wanted to incorporate that into the design and make sure that no matter where you were in this building, each and every person is able to experience the same experience. If you were unable to take the stairs, you were able to have that same experience with the elevator. If you were unable to go into one area of the room, you can have any type of experience you wanted just by working alongside of the people.
So here you can see the sun going down on our building and on our project. And this is how we became a fully integrated, collaborative team that reached all of our sustainability targets and the owner targets set out at the beginning of the project. Thank you so much for your time, and we really appreciate you being here today.
Mentors, I hope they kept you awake and you have some good comments. You left them. They hope it's a good thing, okay?
I'll start.
Yes, please.
I think it was really amazing to see the evolution of this project and how it came through. And I'd say one of the things you guys wanted to focus on was kind of user-based. We're kind of designing from the inside out. And I can see at the beginning it did not seem that way, and now I think through your VR, the focus on the interior and the inside out, it really feels like we designed for the people who are actually going to be using it, not just for the goals of making something beautiful and pretty. Although the 3D graphics, you guys have done a great job with visual communication. I feel like I can really understand this building, and I feel like you guys went through the presentation at a pace that I could actually keep up with, which really helps that I can actually understand the building. I'd say one of the things that really incredible is that atrium space, which I think provided a lot of opportunity for collaboration, but also is functional. So it's a really good example of functional and aesthetic combination. And I would say I think your 4D simulations gave a good visual of how I can imagine this building all coming together. It was 5D simulation. I just thought of 4Ds. But I think one of the things, it really felt like a user-centric design that I've not seen such level of kind of focus on it. So I think it was a real excellent approach to that, and I think I've not seen anyone focus on acoustics and put that kind of into acoustics, so I think that was something that maybe you could appreciate that. Yeah, and I think that one of the things at the very end is you guys really achieved target value design, that story about need, not wanting to go to platinum because there's so many things in there that weren't really of value to you. I think I've looked at so many of these projects where there's so much nonsense in there, but it really kind of shows a little bit of everyone to see through all of the things that are in the complete certification process. So I think it really showed target value design and user centric.
Yeah, I think that visually is just did a fantastic job. The rendering, all the models, and all the realization is very clear.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was wonderful. A couple questions. So you guys had that wind rose where you had to that end in 20 years and 50 years.
Yeah, where'd you get that data? So that data was from Weathership. Cole and the rest of his crew was kind enough to provide us with some of their weather data, and then we took that data, and it was very interesting to pull that data into Excel, to pull it into Rhino, and to run all these different simulations, and then I think also through some of the software Cal Berkeley has to help us kind of understand how it works.
And Adam really took the lead on getting that data, getting it translated into Excel, and then coordinating it and communicating it with the rest of the team, which was what I found was incredible. Was he came back with us and I don't understand a lot of that stuff. They came back, simplified it, and then we integrated it into our design.
And that's again a great example of an alum, Rob Best, who did his PhD here in Magna Tech and then works at Arab and Cole said, oh, we'll get you the data for your sites. And you've seen that in a couple of teams that reached out. Yep. Other yes, yep. And then this.
I also sounds like you really gave us a very good experience of other spaces inside the building and the connection to the structure. I really question your space reduction. And then to say that the building came in at 10 million, the first go around, and then you were able to get it to the time. The time was another. Not employee.
Yeah, we had a higher budget.
I really, I'm hoping, that you both have reduced as well as a very large need. Did the atrium count as cover area for it or not?
Yes, actually, we were based on the survey that we took with Adam. We could understand what were the true needs of this project. So we understood we can reduce some of the student office to provide meeting spaces we could do outside. As well, we can we made some smart moves with the auditorium space because thanks to the fact that it's slow, we reduce the square feet as well providing the needed space.
You really changed the program, but you had the owner file.
Yeah, well, we
proposed it to the
communicated,
owner.
yeah.
And they approved, yeah.
And a lot of it was of that communication from the very beginning of the visual preference survey, communicating that and understanding that students, a lot of times don't want to be in an office by themselves, and a lot of the time they want these more collaborative spaces. That was what led me probably to this design decisions, to kind of reallocate and move around space and then communicate it with our owners and kind of convince them of that.
A great decision. Many things were taken into account. For example, PW space we would probably didn't not have that reduced spans for the name, so probably we would have more columns inside the building. So things like that driven the decision for good. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, better.
Yes, actually, this flexibility was provided because of we decided 2 months ago we are going for 32 feet between 2 feet, and we were able already work we make a lot of changes to provide as good floor as possible, and as well structure was equally developed by structural engineers. So it was as well a very good decision because of the process and time saving.
Great.
And the other comment I wanted to make is that I really enjoyed the space, but I felt that the spaces that looked into the atrium were looked too much there. I'm sure we'll win. And then finally, exciting building and a simple structure. We have seen other exciting buildings, but very complicated structures. And then I also like the fact that you did not push for lead platinum. You stuff that we bold. At my company, we do the same. Sometimes we don't push it through. And I think those companies who don't achieve the higher ratings are actually more honest because they're actually doing this service, actually doing it, but not really caring about the lifetime. So, very good job.
And Lato, any comment?
Well, I already
None. Those are quiet comments. David, any comment?
Yeah, I was going to echo the discussion about storytelling, and I could maybe just to expand on storytelling a little bit. I mean, I think what we all do, when we present our ideas, is we have to tell a story about, why an idea is important and how it adds value. And I think one thing in particular about this project, I think it was Christian who mentioned the kind of design from the inside out and the user experience. And I think the atrium was an interior space unlike the other projects that allowed the entire team to tell a story that connected you all together with a common purpose and a common goal. Everything from the brace frames right over the entrance, which would in some cases be seen as a challenge, but you had a good story about expressing the structure for a structural program. Daylighting analysis that proved that it was a comfortable space, the acoustic analysis. So I think every good story has kind of a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I think that you identified the goals, you looked at the individual systems that made up the story, you had some proofs that demonstrated you actually researched it, and then showed the conclusions of how it was a comfortable space. So just to kind of expand on that storytelling, I was trying to think of why it was successful, but I think he had a great space to work with and a great team to integrate systems around. So very nice.
Yeah, I really appreciate the VR. In my experience, I'm curious about others. The VR, the AR is a lot of kind of, it looks amazing, but kind of so what at a certain point, which isn't to say it's not valuable, but we're kind of still looking for examples. I'd say there's been a lot more with the construction side than on the design side. In my experience, the people, they're afraid to show owners because you can't control everything. You're going to have to put a lot of dedication in, and you won't get it across disciplines. Or your architects will do it, and if they don't like how the column looks, they'll just delete it and not tell us. So I really liked, I liked watching that, and I heard a few snippets of it. But I'm curious, were all of you experts in the VR or user, or you had a few power users and you all kind of used it?
Yeah, so myself and Jay are actually doing research for Renata into VR right now, so we're the two experts on the team, I guess. And then what was, I think, the hugely beneficial part of this was from an integrated, cross-culturally and cross-locationally, diversified team, being able to go into a Zoom meeting and actually, like, I had it on, or Jay had it on when we were walking around, and being able to show them what these spaces that they were designing actually looked like was huge to be able to say, we were able to pull parts of the building that we wanted to focus on or move things around, or, that having us two here on the ground and then showing them, halfway across the world was massive towards this collaborative design effort that we had.
As I mentioned, we just started. After 2 years of knocking at doors, finally, the right people are listening and they understand the opportunity, and we just started like literally 6 weeks ago, and Kate and Joy just chimed in, and they were actually troubleshooting. I have snippets of video because I'm constantly participant observer, and it was absolutely fascinating how they were troubleshooting, and reaching and measuring, and if I stand, give me a chair, I'll sit, and all these now very anecdotal stories that we are going to formalize and really understand how to transform the work. No.
Yeah, the results are already astounding.
Yeah, I also had the same impression that before I could use the VR, that VR is just boring, really not really useful. But really, the first time we came in and then see the building, experience it with the architect, everything looks fine in the plan view, even the 3D view. But being there in the VR, experience the space, make a huge difference.
So we're all looking for a path to a future that's model-based, and perhaps you've now discovered it because you explained your design. I can't imagine why you wouldn't be able to get a building from it with your model in the VR. And to be perfectly honest, if you submitted a set of drawings on this building, I guarantee you it wouldn't be anywhere close to the information you have in your model. And that's our problem, is that we're trying to make that leap to a model-based future. And we've got to bring a bunch of people with us who aren't going to go and tell it's easier than what they're doing now. And what they're doing now doesn't require any thinking at all. So it's going to be hard to, I think, they might have to keep.
All right. Yes.
Sorry, just I'll be quick. Just huge congratulations to the team. Having mentored the structural engineers quite a bit on this, I know that there was a lot of hard work and adversity that this team went through to see the various iterations, and it was really great to see that collaboration shown in the storytelling, like David mentioned. And I actually wanted to see more. So like the bridge discussion, you guys spent a ton of time on those bridges and bearing connections and all that. And 30 seconds. I'm like, wait, I want to see more. I just had one question because I have to ask. So was there really sewage treatment in the atrium? Was that what I heard? The olfactory impacts of that? And
So there's two different types of living machine systems. One is a wet system, and this one's an aggregate system. So it's filled with aggregate rock. I mean, it's shale. It's on aggregates. So again, there's 2 cells on it, but it comes within a few inches of the top. And the beautiful thing about it too, being with this rock, is that by not having soil in there, we're also reducing the impact of the pesticides to need to treat for anything else. Insects inside of a building can kind of go up when you introduce soil. So that was one of the huge benefits of this, and why it was chosen. The smell is not a factor.
I had that, but really, so transparently, you get extra points.
All right, more? No, okay. Thank you, Patrick. Nobody's left on this. So I was just happy because I knew how hard a job Adamina will have and Abdul and Tony. But without any further delay, we'll have a DPR give their I need no, that's still professional, okay? And let me reintroduce my friends Abdul and Tony, who have been really fantastic. They have been inspired by Ada's leadership to start the sustainability challenge, and they came and said, oh, we need a process challenge, not just a product challenge. So, and, okay, here you go.
So I know we are standing between you and food and wine, and we have been here long. So we reduced our presentation from 20 slides to 1 slide. So I mean, I think our challenge was the integration challenge, the transparency, and first of all, congratulations to all the teams. This is as much a learning for us as it has been for you. So we appreciate you putting in the effort to really demonstrate how you sort of address the question of transparency. I think there's actually a few people from BPR that I want to acknowledge. So, Mike Miller has been a mentor in the program. We have Daniel Cohen sitting in the back, who has been actually part of the program before.
Michael also took the
Yes,
class
Michael
with
too.
Maria in the same group.
Yeah. Bochin Zhang, also Stanford alum, he's been involved in this. Obviously Tony, and then Dan Gonzalez, who used to work for BPR, actually helped sort of start that. So it's really, we all have come together to learn from it. There's actually a few other BPR people involved in this that are not here that we need. So anyway, so my one slide is the next one. I hope this was an experience. The reason to do this class is because we don't see this. We have probably experienced this somewhere So I think on that note, I'll let Tony. So one thing I would say is the groups actually, we had an opportunity with the larger BPR team. All the teams actually presented on the last Friday, so we have gone through it. Tony did a quick sort of summary based on the feedback from all the mentors. So I'm going to let him announce the winner.
So this is going to be a aggregation of the presentation and documentation the students submitted last Friday. So they get a chance to actually present the BPR transparency challenge. Each team got 12 minutes, but today you guys only see it in like 30 seconds or like 1 minute. So we aggregate all the points you guys gave us. So the winner is.
I could not want to a lot of break.
So we have names and out US of the certificate and gift card.
And I also want to say, so the opinions Yeah, right. So the opinions kind of split, and we actually have a very, very close runner-up, which is the Liberty. I would say kudos.
Okay, so that's all we have.
Thank you so much.
Mike, motion.
Yeah,
And
Daniel.
someone-
Okay. All right, are we good? Thank you. Congratulations. Okay, and next, Anna.
And we are only 2 hours behind schedule.
That's what I wanted to say, I was working until midnight.
So I think I'll try to summarize also. I had do I have a ticket?
I will do that.
All right. Okay. So Renata asked me not just to announce the winner, but also kind of to reflect on how this sustainability challenge started and how it has evolved through the years. So I just do a quick, Humberto said 1998 as his special date, and the day that Titanic was released. So I'll set up 2000, which is the day that I got involved in the program, as well as the day that this rating system came into the market. I had already been working for Swinnerton Builders for a couple of years, and I have worked in the BRIAN system in Europe before, and I was in shock that there was no green building sustainability mentioned anywhere in my many volume projects. So this was, the release of it was like a glass of fresh water in the middle of the desert. And when I got involved in the program, it was an exciting opportunity because 3 projects that you guys were putting up there are the projects that I really wanted to work on. And getting sustainability into the projects started with something as simple as starting to talk about lead rating system. Renate was the first ones to adopt that, and then around 2007, I started talking about lead is not enough. There were many other rating systems in the market. There was these goals of net zero energy and net zero water. And then I started working, I kept working with Swinnerton Builders for 17 years. And eventually I had to do sustainable reports for the company, started to follow my lab. And I needed to learn from you as much or more than you were learning from me. So the day that I was put in front of a blank piece of paper and I was told that I had to do a greenhouse gas emission report, carbon neutral, or how we can get to carbon neutral construction, I knew that I had to get the ideas from you. And so is that how the sustainability challenge started. And no wonder the first sustainability challenge was, how can we go for carbon neutrality? You guys give me the ideas. And so every single year, those were the different